So this is my assignment 4 on the respiratory system. The respiratory system works to take in oxygen and expire carbon dioxide as waste from the body, allowing exercise to continue. The main organ of the system is the lungs. So the structure of the respiratory system. It has 7 parts, as I've shown here. This has, the nasal cavity is the first step of the respiratory system. It has an important role of getting air into the system to allow the body to function during exercise. The air enters the nostrils, and these nostrils contain cilia which filter the air. These also have mucus on them, which makes sure that the air is clean, therefore making no dust go into the system that could potentially harm a person. This is done by the mucus, which contains antibacterial enzymes which can kill the bacteria. The epiglottis is the next one. It is centred in the throat. It has a very important part of the respiratory system, as it is a flap of cartilage at the top of the larynx that covers the esophagus when breathing, ensuring that no air goes into the esophagus and to the stomach. And while eating and drinking, the epiglottis covers the trachea, therefore meaning that no food or drink can go into the lungs. The pharynx. This is the tube that connects the nasal cavity and the larynx, allowing the air to pass through safely. This therefore ensures that the oxygen needed for the person is supplied safely down the larynx to continue the respiration. The larynx is also known as the voice box. This has the important function of keeping the airway open, ensuring that the air goes down the correct channels, allowing the body to function effectively. This is made of cartilage, giving the shape of the box, also known as the Adam's apple, mostly seen in boys. The trachea, this is known as the windpipe. It's a long tube from the larynx down to the bronchi. It's shown on the diagram where the windpipe is split into 2 separate tubes, so here, and that's where I am. Inside the trachea are rings of cartilage. These play an important role in keeping the pipe open so that air can flow through, getting to the lungs so respiration can happen. So without these flaps of C-rings of cartilage, the tube could potentially close up, therefore meaning that you wouldn't be able to breathe properly. The bronchus, these are split off from the trachea, as shown on the diagram. These have the function of splitting the air equally into each lung, allowing the respiration to continue. This air is clean by the time it gets to this section of the respiratory system. The bronchioles are what branch off from the bronchus. These lead the air to the alveoli so that the diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide can happen, therefore getting sufficient amounts to the person during exercise. There are 2 bronchioles in the left lung and 3 in the right. The lobes are also parts looking at the lung structure analysis, the lobes are parts of the lungs. These act as air sacs, keeping the lung inflated at all times. They also have the function of maintaining the ability to breathe. This is because if one lobe became infected, the others wouldn't be able to continue the function. There are 3 lobes in the right lung and 2 lobes in the left. The reason why there's 2 is because there's a cardiac notch here. This is where the heart sits, therefore meaning that there's less room for the left lung to have 3 lobes similar to the right lung. The pleural membrane. This is the layer on the outside of the lungs. It has the function of preventing friction around the outside of the lungs. This keeps the lungs airtight, keeping them working at the best possible way, therefore meaning that no oxygen can escape out of them. This is important for athletes because they have to be able to breathe effectively to get the amount of oxygen they need to continue the sport. The parietal pleura. This is the outermost of the membranes. It covers the outside of the lung, making sure that there is no friction present between the other organs and muscles around the lungs. This therefore prevents any pain to the athlete during breathing. The pleural cavity. This is the space between 2 membranes where the pleural fluid is stored. The thoracic cavity. This is named for the chamber in which the respiratory organs sit in. It has the function of protecting the entire chest using the abdominal cavity and the diaphragm. This is important as it lessens the likeliness of injury or bruising to the lungs. Visceral pleura. This is the innermost of the two pleural membranes. It covers the surface of the lung, giving it protection. This means that any harmful substances have no opportunity to get into the lung from the outside. Working with the other pleural membrane, these hold the pleural fluid, which means that there is no friction between the layers of the lungs. This means no pain is caused during breathing. Pleural fluid. This is a lubricant between two pleural membranes. It has a function of making sure that whilst breathing, the lungs can naturally slide over one another, keeping breathing easy for the person. And finally, the alveoli. These are small air sacs which are inside the lung, and they are essential for breathing. They will allow gaseous exchange to happen in the lungs, therefore ridding the carbon dioxide as a waste from the person and getting oxygen to the blood, ready to supply the muscles, allowing the exercise to continue. So the functions of the respiratory system. The transportation of gases to and from the muscles is very important. This is because the waste material carbon dioxide needs to be get rid of and replaced with oxygen to allow the athlete to continue the exercise. This is done by diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of gases from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, as shown on the diagram above. So the carbon dioxide is coming from the blood into the alveoli, and the oxygen is going from the alveoli into the capillaries, so the blood. The oxygen goes from an area of high concentration in the alveoli to an area of low concentration, and the same with the carbon dioxide, just the other way around. This then again happens in the muscles as well. The capillaries run very close to the muscles, therefore meaning that the oxygen from the blood can diffuse quickly from the capillaries into the muscles, therefore allowing the exercise to continue. And the same happens with the carbon dioxide, allowing the carbon dioxide to come out of the muscles and into the blood, so the blood can be reoxygenated. So hemoglobin, this is in the blood. It's got a high affinity for oxygen, meaning that it will contain oxygen, therefore will take it to the muscles when the person is doing exercise. So oxyhemoglobin is basically hemoglobin when it's been oxygenated. Breathing control. There are two types of breathing control. There is neural and chemical. Firstly, neural control. This is controlled by the nervous system. There are two types of breathing in this type of control. These are involuntary and voluntary. Involuntary breathing is a type of breathing that is controlled by the medulla oblongata. It is performed whilst the person isn't thinking about breathing. This is important because otherwise the person wouldn't be able to breathe whilst they aren't thinking about it. Voluntary breathing is controlled by the cerebral cortex region in the brain. It is controlled when we think about breathing, therefore allowing us to control our breathing by ourselves. For example, we can forcefully breathe in and forcefully breathe out. This type of breathing is very important for people like boxers, so they need to be able to control their breathing so that they can get the most powerful punch or something like that. Or same with weightlifting, you need to be able to control your lifting to make sure you perform to the best of your abilities. Next, we've got chemical control. This is controlled by the chemoreceptors. These are in the medulla, the aortic arc, and the carotid arteries. These work to detect changes in the levels of CO2. For example, if the levels were high, then the chemoreceptors would increase the breathing rate, therefore meaning that more CO2 would be leaving the body at a faster rate. Also, bringing in more oxygen at a faster rate. This therefore means that the person can continue their exercise over a long period of time due to the faster breathing rate controlled by the chemoreceptors. So for average lung volume, there are 4 key lung volumes. The first is the inspiratory reserve volume. This is the pace allowed for the next inhalation of the air into the lungs. This means that if you were to breathe in naturally, then hold your breath, the room left in the lungs would be the inspiratory reserve volume. During rest, this space wouldn't be used. However, during exercise, due to the increase in the size of the thoracic cavity and more oxygen needed, the deeper breaths made would probably use the reserve. Next is the tidal volume. This is the amount of air breathed in one breath. It can differ between different people. For example, a person that does more exercise on a regular basis would have a higher tidal volume. This is because their lungs have adapted to breathe in more air at a time, allowing their respiration to be more efficient during exercise. The expiratory reserve volume, this is the amount of air that can be forced out of the lungs by a person after one normal exhalation. For example, if the person was to breathe out normally, then breathe out again without inhaling any more air, the second forceful exhalation would be the expiratory reserve volume. This has the function of keeping the lungs inflated at all times. If they were completely deflated, the process wouldn't be able to continue. Finally, the residual volume is the leftover air in the lungs after the person has forcefully exhaled as much air from the lungs as they possibly can. On average, after doing this, there should be around 1 litre left in the lungs. This also has the function of keeping the lungs inflated, allowing the natural breathing processes to continue. The vital capacity is also shown on this table. It has the amount of air that can be breathed in and out in one breath. This is important in exercise, as the more you can breathe in, and the more efficient your respiration is. This means that the more you are breathing in, the more oxygen you are getting to the working muscles, therefore also meaning that the more waste carbon dioxide you are getting out of the system, allowing the exercise to continue. Finally, there is total lung volume. This is the amount of air that is present in the lungs at any one time. This is shown on the table for the average male to be about 6 litres. So, explain this diagram. It basically shows the average lung volume for male. So the line on the diagram shows where he's breathing normally, so this bit, and then there's a sudden breathe in and a sudden breathe out. So this is probably him controlling his breathing himself, probably by neural control. So he's decided to take one big deep breath in and one big deep breath out. Therefore going into the inspiratory reserve volume and the expiratory reserve volume, both forcing in as much as he can and forcing out as much as he can in one go. Then finally, during inspiration there is a decrease in pressure in the lungs. This is because there can't be any pressure so that the air can enter. This therefore allows the air into the lungs so it can be used in respiration. This therefore results in an increase in pressure around the thoracic cavity, because the room is made for the air to get into the lungs. This therefore causes the diaphragm to flatten, allowing enough room for the lungs to completely fill. The intercostal muscles assist this by expanding the ribcage, also allowing enough room for the lungs to fill. During rest, the diaphragm contracts, moving down, allowing the air into the lungs. The external intercostal muscles contract and the internal intercostal muscles relax. This is so that the ribcage is pulled out, allowing the lungs to fill. There is an increase in the size of the thoracic cavity due to the air now in the lungs. As a result of the muscles contracting, air is forced into the lungs, allowing respiration to happen. During exercise, the thoracic cavity increases further, allowing a larger amount of air into the lungs, therefore getting more oxygen to the muscles needed at a faster rate. Muscles such as the pectorals and trapezius help raise the ribcage, allowing a larger amount of air into the lungs. This results in the thoracic cavity increasing in size, bringing more air in during rest. During expiration, the lungs naturally deflate due to their elasticity. This is therefore called a passive process. This means that there are no muscles used to assist the process of exhalation. The muscles used during the process of inspiration relax and the ribcage falls in, allowing the lungs to deflate, pushing the waste air out of the body. At rest, the diaphragm relaxes and returns upwards, therefore assists the emptying of the lungs from the air left after respiration. The external intercostal muscles relax as they...
You've got 30 seconds.
Yeah, as they aren't needed in the process of expiration. The ribs and sternum put pressure on the lungs, forcing them to deflate and rid of all the leftover air. This therefore means that the waste air in the lungs is pushed out, meaning that the lungs are ready for the next breath in. In exercise, the internal intercostal muscles contract pulling the ribcage down. This therefore makes it a non-passive process due to the help given by the internal intercostals. The abdominals also assist the intercostal muscles. This results in the air being forced out of the lungs faster than when resting. This is important during exercise because the respiration can happen faster, allowing exercise to continue.